Hello and welcome to this week's episode of House of League, which I think we might christen one of our worst prepared episodes. Yes, we actually do normally put some preparation into this show, but for various reasons, we just jumped on and we're just going to see where we go. This week, I'm James Smales. I'm joined with our Rugby League editor, Matt Shaw, is with us. Matthew, you well?
I'm very tired.
Very tired. It's been a long weekend. One person who's not been a long weekend for, because let's be honest, we know he don't work much. Josh McAllister is here. Josh, rested? Nice break?
I was at a lovely wedding. It was my best mate's wedding on Saturday, so it was a beautiful day. But I did hear there was a comment by a listener.
Several. Josh was the talk of Wembley. We had a good night on Friday, didn't we, around the Wembley area. We met a lot of fans and we spoke to a lot of people. And thanks for everyone that commented on the podcast, the good and the bad. But lots of comments of, why ain't Josh with you? Is he on the holiday making a joke? To which my answer was, yes, he is. He's on holiday again. I
had a beer after the parade last night. I went, do you work with James Smales then? Yes. And they went, tell him from me he's and I can't repeat the rest. But that was fun. Needless to say, it was someone from East Hull, not West Hull.
Do you know what? All the work that's gone into the last week or so of all the great coverage around Hull Kingston Rovers, and that's the thanks I get, Josh.
You're even there mucking in on the trophy parade, homecoming.
Did everything to give him the best coverage we could get, but no, that's fine. That's fine. I do not take it personally.
Still coming as well, isn't it? What have we got?
40-page special for Hull Kingston Rovers fans. I mean, Warrington fans can read it. I don't think they're going to want to. 40-page special later in the week, out in shops on Friday. Listen, let's get started. Obviously, we need to start with the Challenge Cup final. Fantastic storyline. 45 years since they last won the Cup, 40 years since they last won a major trophy. Brilliant for Hull Kingston Rovers. The scenes that we were there on Sunday night in Hull City Centre, you were on the bus reporting on there. I was at Queen Victoria Square doing it with all the fans, thousands of fans that were there. It was an occasion that's going to live long in the memory for all the players, I'm sure. It's just a great storyline, isn't it? Rovers winning the Cup.
Yeah, it is. I'm not sure if they deserve to win the Cup. But
no, I'm going to come to that in a minute.
It is. Look, I think I probably didn't realise until being in the city yesterday just how important it was. We all know it's 45 years since the last Cup, 40 years since the last piece of major silverware, but the whole tears in their eyes. I mean, it was literally like that across the board, wasn't it? And at Wembley as well. Everyone talks about limbs, don't they, in stands, and I've never quite seen limbs like the Hull KR to our left as we were looking at it when Tom Davies dotted that ball down. Just a tremendous, it's been a meteoric rise, hasn't it? But it's needed validation, and they've got the validation now. And, for those guys who were in that team and Willie Peters and the coaching staff, it is as simple as this. They will go down in history. They will never be forgotten. That team won't be forgotten, Whenever we do nostalgia pieces on Hull KR, where do we turn to? Yeah. 85 or 80. 10, 15 years' time, that'll be the 2025 group. And that's what they can... That's, they are in the history of that club, they are now immortal.
That's a warning that Dave Craven, All That Rugby League, will be phoning them in 15 years for some stories, only when they look back.
Listen, they'll be thankful if Dave's ringing them, because I bumped into Dave Hall, the former Hull KR captain and winner in 1980, and I bumped into him on Wembley Way with his wife Donna. I've known him for a while, and Craig Hall, obviously ex-Hull FC and Hull KR player. And he said, Dave Craven rang me this week. And when my phone went, I originally thought, it better not be Smalesy ringing me, because I rang him ahead of the 50-0 defeat. I rang him ahead of Craig Hall playing in 2008, but Craig didn't play. He got dropped for the final. And he said, I didn't dare have the three-peat, because every time you ring me, something bad in the final happens. Thankfully, Dave Craven rang him and they won. So that was good. You touched on it there in terms of deserve. You didn't think Rovers deserved it. in many ways they did deserve it, because this is a club that has made such great strides and has gone so far in the last few years. In terms of the 80-minute performance, Warrington were the better team. I'll come to you first on this one, Josh. I know you weren't there, but you have seen the game.
I have.
Warrington will consider themselves unlucky that they didn't win the game, because the performance was brilliant. If you want a game plan of how to beat Hull KR, Warrington have probably shown the blueprint there. The problem is not everyone's got a player who's got a left foot like Mark Sneed. What a kicking game, what a performance from him. They've got to be smart in, haven't they? They didn't get over the line.
Yeah, they've got to be incredibly heartbroken. The way it ended, as you say, Mark Sneed, all but 6 of the Lance Todd Trophy votes, the record equaling, the third time he's ever done it. He controlled that game. His management, his kicking game under the weather. I thought Jack Broadbent did really well under the pressure.
It was very good.
Yeah, because Sneed was just kicking and kicking, and I mean he was the best. He was the best halfback on the field, and Warrington coming so close and hurting after just the last 4 minutes. But on Hull KR, champion teams know how to win when they're not at the best. I mean, we've seen Wigan do it. Wigan know how to get through when they're not at the best, and that's what Hull KR proved. They stuck with it with a bit of grit. They never gave up. And that last 4 minutes proved the difference when Tom Davies touched it down with a little bit of some sort of controversy, but
yes.
I'm not too sold on that.
Let's get stuck into the controversy. It's still rumbling on now, and I'm seeing plenty on social media talking about it. Obviously, Phil Farren Lindop who misses the ball, and hopefully, he bounces back from that, because mistakes can happen to anyone and will happen. It's just unfortunate.
Let's be right. That scenario has happened to so many players. It's not a clanger, is it? It's
every week
surface,
there's one of them in the game.
Wet surface behind the ball, moving at speed under pressure.
In the 77th minute of the game.
It's a mistake, but I don't think it should be over-egged. It's
It's
not a clanger,
and because of that, let's not give it any more oxygen, because it's not at all. But let's talk about I'm kind of hesitant to use the word controversy, because I don't think it was controversial at all. But let's talk about the try that was given that Warrington at the time felt very aggrieved by. Sam Burgess came in the press conference. All credit to Sam Burgess. Didn't make a massive deal out of it. Waited until he was asked specifically about it, and then said, "I'm not going to make any excuses." But did stress, if that's a try, then I don't know what is. And then told us the rules. To which the RFL came in afterwards and explained, actually, these are the rules. You cannot ground the ball with your torso as a defender. It's pretty much cut and dry. Now everybody knows what the actual rules are.
It is. Why are the rules so complex? Would be for me. Grounding of the ball, touching down on the ball. It's all semantics, really, isn't it? That people understandably find difficult to keep track of. Why can't we just say to ground the ball, that's for it to be dead or to score a try, you've got to put it down, you've got to ground it with your hand or your forearm. Yeah. Why does it have to be different for an attacker or a defender? I don't really understand the reason for that. But yes, and it's even then there's still a play on the word intentionally or intent. You could argue that Aaron Lindop was intentionally trying to stop Hull KR from scoring a try. So he did ground the ball, because it's that word, isn't it? It's intentional. Their argument is because he tried to shovel the ball out and missed it, and then it grounded.
He kind of fell on it with his stomach.
It wasn't intentional, but you could play devil's advocate and say his intent was to stop them scoring. How can you prove what his intent was anyway? His intent might be, if I miss it with my hands, my intent is my body will get it, so that's fine. Yeah. So I think it's a bit of a grey one, isn't it? I think as you read it, you can understand why the try was given and letter of the law. A right try, a correct call to give the try. I just don't know why the ruling needs to be so confusing. Just say to ground it as a try or to ground it dead, it's got to be with your hand or with your forearm. Yeah. And then
I'll put my hand up. Right, I didn't know the ruling. Josh, you play regularly. I mean, you play poorly from what your teammates say on social media, but you played. Did you know the ruling?
No.
Did you know you could or you couldn't ground it with your torso?
Did not until I read it on All Out Rugby League.
And that's the problem, isn't it? That as fans, which effectively we are, you don't know the rules.
No.
And most people don't in terms of them specifics.
Yeah.
So
It's just a.
You just need
It seems
clarity
an overly complex rule for something that doesn't need to be complex to me. But then, like you say, if Petter Hicker would have belly flopped it, it's a try. It just doesn't. Wow.
I am glad that it didn't become such a massive deal. I mean, it might have on social media, on Twitter, Warrington fans between
that's
themselves.
not a good place to gauge.
Yeah,
the
no, but I
reaction of
think in
general
terms of the
fans.
bigger picture, it didn't overshadow. I don't think that
No.
there's everything else. That was my interpretation.
It didn't.
No,
Well, in fairness to the BBC, like John Wilkin explained it during the broadcast, which
Yes.
will have helped bring that noise down a little bit. And he was right, the way he explained it. But yeah, niche role, But going back to Warrington, I do feel sorry for them because they were the better team. However, you got to give this to Hull KR, right? They didn't attack well at all, but they defended very well.
Superbly well.
And it meant that they only needed one try to win the game. That's what they earned. They earned the right that they only had to score once.
Yes. But you think about that third Lance Todd trophy winning performance by Mark Sneed.
And no doubt he deserved it.
Yeah, there was some suggestion that we did the voting early and that, myself and Matt both were part of the voting, that we did the voting early and that's why he got it. And if we'd have voted after the game or after the Mikey kick, I could actually tell everybody, normally you hand the votes in maybe with 5 minutes to go, maybe even a bit before then. However, because the game was so close, we didn't hand our sheets in until after Mikey kicked that goal. Nobody changed their mind. No. We'd all written earlier, maybe 10 minutes earlier, we'd all written Mark Sneed. Nobody changed their mind. No. Mikey kicking that goal or not, for me, and I don't think Mikey's great, I won't use the terminology because family show and all that, but courage to kick that, and was... deserves all the credit for that because I'd have lost my ball completely.
There was I can't believe the number of people on social media saying it was basically in front of the sticks. Like, come on.
No, it took a lot to kick that. But, and yes, it won the cup for Rovers, but it wasn't.
He wasn't the best player.
It wasn't the best player on the pitch. For me, he wasn't even Rovers' best player. Mark Sneed was the best player on the pitch by
a mile.
Yes.
That 20-40 kick is one of the best kicks I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Not just because of the importance of it in the context of the game. He literally just runs in at dummy half, takes one step and just bangs it.
Some of them high bombs were coming down with snow on them in them conditions. Yeah. Like you said, Broadbent handled it brilliantly.
I thought so too.
Rovers did defend superbly because Mark Sneed's kicking game was so good for Rovers, and there's other aspects of the final I want to come at, but for Rovers, and then we'll touch on Warrington, where do they go from this? Now apparently there are other ways of broadcasting, and there's this place called the BBC which I went on yesterday. I don't know who heard it, so did the BBC, but I said on radio, so it's out there already, so I'll happily say it on here, and then everybody can come at me at the end of the season when I'm completely wrong. But I said I think Rovers go on and win the treble now. Right?
Oof,
I know.
That is a huge
Well,
goal.
I did like to point out when we do our preview show later in the week, I did predict Rovers to win the Challenge Cup back in January.
I think I did as well.
Did you?
I had to look at that.
Yeah, I'm just going to say you didn't.
I think I tipped Salford.
Well,
What a call that is.
we didn't know at the time.
But you wouldn't have known at the time
No.
what was going on. No, genuinely, I think if, and it is a big if, they can get a good performance against Wigan when they play them in the league, because Wigan have got that little bit of an inside of them at the minute. Yeah. If Rovers can get some confidence against Wigan and see a way that we can beat these, which, to be honest, they weren't that far off when they played them with injuries at Craven Park. They had the moments where they played well. My point being, I genuinely feel that, certainly they can. They're the only side that can win the treble. But I think they're going to. You two are probably going to disagree, and I like that. because then when I'm right, I can laud it off you. And when I'm wrong, I'll just say, well, come on, it was a brave call.
I just think Wigan are too good not to win a trophy.
And we had this conversation off air with our producer. Well, I had this conversation with Sean, and I said, he said, Wigan are doing second gear at the minute, right? They've got more gears to come. And I said, that's fine, but they've not shown me so far that they can find third gear to get into it.
They have. Did it last year. Same team.
No, this season.
Doesn't matter. I think Wigan are too good not to win a trophy.
Okay.
I know that Rovers have got a horrid recent record against Wigan. I mean, they're coming up to a year, and the only team they've lost to is Wigan. I think they've got to get through like another month, and then that'd be it, which is a great fact. But Hull KR can beat Wigan. There's no question that they can beat them, but they're probably going to have to beat them twice to win both trophies. I think, and I'm not saying they can't, but I think to go out and say they will win the treble, I think that's a very, very brave call. And I'm not
completely brave,
I'm not even saying,
but I'm owning it.
And I'm not going to say that you're wrong or it's a shocker. I think there's so many moving parts. As an example, Suaso Su, which I'm sure we'll get onto in a minute, could now be out for 6 matches through suspension, injuries, whatever. There's so many moving parts, and to win in League Leader Shield, you need a lot of things, and one thing you need is luck.
Yeah,
and you can't foresee that at the minute. So I'm not saying
they've just won a cup final that playing one of the worst performances of the season, if not the worst.
I get it.
I'm not saying they were lucky, but fortune favoured them in many ways.
Yeah.
And at the same point, I get your argument.
Yeah.
But all that can just as well happen to Wigan.
Of course it can.
Yeah. So I'm going to go. I'm not going to sit on the fence like you two with splinters in your backsides. And I'm going to say Rovers are going to win the treble.
And I will sit on the fence because I wouldn't want to sit here and say there's no chance of them winning a treble, because there is a chance, but I wouldn't. I'm more inclined to go that way than to say they'll definitely win a treble. I'm not
saying definitely.
No, I know what you mean.
But I fancy him. I genuinely fancy him.
That'll be this podcast headline. Now you said that. That'll be the title. Ultimately, it is a 2-horse race, isn't it? We're only talking about these two teams. These two teams will meet in the Super League Grand Final. There's no one else close enough to them.
That's the bit that frustrates me about Warrington. Where has that been all season?
Yeah,
they were really good, really good.
Yeah.
They were so in the middle. I'd argue they won the middle battle. And I've said,
didn't see that.
Luke Yates was unbelievable.
Everyone that we spoke to, and every conversation I had with Rovers fans, the ones that don't all hate me, but the ones that did tolerate me, that I spoke to on Friday and Saturday, were saying, "How do you see it?" And I said, "They'll beat them up through the middle. Don't worry.
It's genuinely
it's in the bag. They'll just." Warrington can't compete.
And this, by the way,
that's not how it worked out at all.
This, by the way, is where I would give credit to Mikey Lewis that I don't think he got on the day. Those first 15 minutes of that game, KR were camped in their own half.
Yes.
And he kicked them out of danger. Like, he was getting serious depth on his kicks.
He did.
And he defended Matt Duffy very well.
The dropout where he... I mean...
Do you see what I mean?
That threatened to change the full momentum of the game.
There's this thing that I think people try to push a narrative that he doesn't turn up in the big games. Now, listen, he wasn't the best player on the field. Far from it. If I was doing Man of Steel, if I was doing the Lance Todd voting, and I wasn't picking Mark Sneed, I'd have gone Luke Yates next, and I'd have probably gone Toby King after that. And
if you were doing a Man of Steel 1, 2, 3, you're picking
Mikey Lewis wasn't in my thinking for Lance Todd at all.
Yeah.
And that's not... But what I would say is I think he played better than people give him credit for. I thought it was a mature performance from Mikey Lewis. In good ball, he didn't play.
I don't think it was a poor performance by him at all. I thought he did well.
He did. He had to do a lot of the ugly stuff.
He did well in a team that was struggling for yards for the middle, I think that's a good which was the surprising aspect of the game. Let's come on to the Suaso Su spitting allegation, who's now been charged with it. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, so they'll face tribunal. So by the time, this will go out Monday evening. Tuesday evening we'll know. It can carry a minimum of a 6-match ban, which you said could be a huge blow to Willie Peters' pack, especially if they're chasing that League Leaders Shield, because obviously he plays a massive role in Hull KR's strong forward middle carries and his defence. Yeah, so a 6-match minimum he could be facing if found guilty. It's a
He'll
tough
be-
one because the clip is there and he does spit on Thulis.
He'll be found guilty because now that he's been charged, I would never say that I would never accuse anyone of intentionally spitting at someone. However, something leaves his mouth
and it hits the player. Now, the argument will be, it wasn't my intention.
Yeah.
But then the argument back will be, but you did it. It's there. Unfortunately, that's just the
I'd be
case.
very surprised if he gets away with it.
Should video referees get involved in that during the game? Because we saw the replays. We're fortunate enough.
They were
at
like
Wembley that
6-7 minutes later, wasn't it?
Yes,
I thought that was interesting. It went on report and they didn't actually show the clip until a long time after.
I would imagine that's an editorial decision. You've got your editor there and the game's going on and he's either waiting for the right moment or he wants to check he's reviewed the footage because you're kind of making an accusation yourselves by showing it. So maybe that's an editorial judgment there that it took so long.
Yeah.
But we saw the footage and you turned to me straight away and said, that don't look good.
No, it didn't look good. I'd say. I wasn't surprised that he was charged and I won't be surprised now that he gets a ban. So that'll hurt them. Not getting away from
I want to just talk on a few other things for Wembley. I was driving back with Will Jackson, formerly of our parish, from the game on Saturday, and he mentioned a thing to me which actually on the day, which I hadn't spotted while we were working, and then really annoyed me, and I think annoyed him even more, was after the match, Rovers are celebrating behind the sticks with all the fans who've waited 45 years, some of them. A lot of them weren't even born the last time they won. There's a reason to have a party. If they want to stay out on the pitch all night until they're locking up the stands with the fans, I think they're entitled to do that. And while they're celebrating, because we've got the 1895 Cup final, York are coming out, Featherstone are coming out. York, I think it was, training, warming up, right where the Rovers players are celebrating, kicking the ball into the goal, there's balls coming around. That's not me blaming York or Featherstone coming out. They've got to warm up for a game. But we can't have a situation where teams are trying to celebrate with the fans and they're having to move out the way because the next team's coming on. It's not, it's not Magic Weekend. We're not roll on, roll off. It's the Challenge Cup final. And it annoyed me. And I think something's got to happen for me. It didn't feel right. It felt disrespectful to those fans that had waited. It felt disrespectful to Rovers. I don't care if they'd been out there an hour. If they want another 20 minutes, they can have another 20 minutes or however long they want. I didn't like it.
Financially, the 1895 Cup and the Women's Challenge Cup final do not make sense for Wembley.
No.
I've done a bit of digging on this because I was alarmed by the attendance sizes for both of those games.
Didn't look good for either game, did it? Didn't look good.
And essentially it costs around £100,000 per game to have those two games on at Wembley, and it doesn't make money. It loses money. It's actually a drain. And where the sport's at now, I don't think I'm convinced the 1895 Cup final won't continue at Wembley. The Women's Challenge Cup final might do, because I think there's a need to try and grow.
I don't mind that before the cup final because if you can get people in early and you can convince them that these women are great athletes, and there's a good product there. Yeah. We only caught a little bit of it because we were doing a little bit pre-match, but they looked like some really good tries. I'm fine with that. It's the after the game
I'm just
annoyed
talking on a bigger picture that I don't. There were less people in for the Women's Challenge Cup final than there were the 1895 Cup. They give out an attendance. I think the attendance was 8,000 something for the women's game, but it's misleading because if I'm not wrong, the attendance is counted basically what the figures are at the start of the second half. Realistically, the people who are coming for the Women's Challenge Cup final are there for kick-off.
Yes.
That's the number that should be given, and that would be a lot smaller.
And also, that 8,000 was people who'd come through the gate, and I wager a lot of them were in the bar areas because we were watching that second half.
So 8,000 is inaccurate. Now, look, from a player's perspective, I understand that they won't care that they played in front of whatever, whatever it was.
Played at Wembley in front of however many people, more than we've done.
Yeah, exactly. So, I get, you look at the celebrations that Wigan and York have been on social media, they clearly love it.
Yeah.
But purely commercially, it does not make sense for these games to take place. Yes, it bumps the crowd up a little bit, but which makes the attendance number look a little bit better. But from a pure financial perspective, it does not make sense to have those 2 games on at Wembley.
Just quickly on Wembley, I know you want to come on the back of that. I'm not going to let you because I want to. There's loads I need to get through, and I want to move on. And time's against us a little bit. You've made me forget what I was going to say now, Josh.
Well, can I just say what I was going to say quickly? The 1895 Cup for me, you say something has to happen, has to move, and for me, where the Northern Rail Cup final was, had it
100%
back in
bring
Blackpool.
Back Blackpool.
My hometown, put it back to Blackpool. I know that Wembley has that specialness, but that Blackpool will attract the fans. You can fill out Bloomfield Road.
Loved it.
Or maybe not fill
And
it
they've
out,
got
but
a
you can.
fantastic pop world.
So obviously, back to Blackpool
Back
there,
to
yeah.
Blackpool.
That's a good moment to move on.
Let's just move away from Wembley in the Cup final and just quickly touch on a few other things really quickly that have happened in the last week or so. Jack Wellesby injury, looking at a long time out.
Yeah.
Just when Saints felt like they might be getting it a little somewhere and a little back, although the last time out got beat by Hull KR, but that's going to be a big blow to them and their chances of making the 6.
Huge. That's a game changer.
Do they still make the 6 now, or is that them gone? Do you think maybe somebody like, Hull FC have gone back in? Have Hull FC gone above St Helens in the table?
Saints are currently in the 6 on points difference in front of Wakefield.
But you're expecting Wakefield to go in there, so I think for you it's probably Saints.
I had it
FC,
I had Saints in. I had it as a. I had Wakefield in. I had it as a toss up between Saints and Hull FC for the last spot. And I was Saints. I think the pendulum may have swung to Hull FC. However,
they've got their own injury concerns as well.
Well, I was gonna. There are suggestions that there might have been a major injury at Hull FC too, which we're working on. So I won't say too much, but the talk is that Will Price has maybe had a setback.
I love the fact you
won't
said
say
we
too
won't
much.
say too much.
Well,
Says it.
Will Price
I'm
is
just
out,
thinking-
everybody.
I don't know for certain. I've just been told that there may have been a setback on Will Price. I don't know how serious it is. So it's all swings and roundabouts. You just don't know.
Asiata's out at the minute.
Asiata's out as
out,
well.
yeah.
So they could be struggling as well.
He's got 2 hours to follow this up before this goes live. Otherwise, we're recording again.
Pull your finger out,
Yeah.
Matthew. Pull your finger out. That's a blow. Good bit of news. Ryan Hall signing for another year. He's going to extend this try-scoring record that probably nobody's ever, say nobody's ever going to touch. I mean, it depends how long Josh Charnley goes on for. But he's going to post a big number by the end of his career. Good business for Leeds Rhinos.
And maybe them done. We did that piece with Ian Blease on the
I
salary
was going to
cap.
bring that up next.
It is good news on Ryan Hall, and I'm pleased he's carrying on. He's playing well enough to carry on. But yeah, Ian Blease very open, wasn't he, and very transparent about where their salary cap is, and essentially they've not got a lot of space left because they've got the rules state if once a player turns 21 and or earns £35,000 or more, they go on the salary cap. Leeds have, I think it's 7 or 8 players that are currently 0 on the cap that are going on.
Yeah.
So a lot of that spare salary cap space from Morgan Gannon's departure and for all he'll leave, maybe Lasone is going to be taken up by those
by
guys.
these youngsters.
So,
But
yeah.
Leeds doing what Leeds have always done, putting in the faith in youngsters.
It's not a bad thing.
Who they've obviously got a lot of belief in.
Good on him. Good on him.
That's what
they-
success, isn't it? We've
They
seen
built
the
a
success-
dynasty on it, didn't
Yeah,
they? So
that's exactly what success is. That's what we're going to do. That's what Leeds done. That's what success is.
nice positive note for us to finish on. We will be back later in the week. Obviously, Super League is back, so we'll be back with our predictions episode. The 3 of us. We will see you. So on behalf of myself, on behalf of Josh, thanks, and Matthew.
And above all else, enjoy your rugby league. Take care.
Bye bye.